Hello YouTube, De-bodgery here. Welcome to EV Components Review. On the bench is my three TP-128 IPM inrunners, aka lightning rod XXL motors. Same thing, really no difference at all. So the last video I did on this, I showed the new shafts, I showed my little tool that I made, and I showed that I was going to be pushing out the factory shafts, which are now all removed, with that tool and a 3-jaw puller out of the armatures. So over the last couple of days, I machined this section down. So remember, there used to be this shoulder right here that was trapping, this front bearing behind it. So, this shaft was in here like that. And so the front plate and the bearing were all trapped behind that shoulder. So I machined this off, first of all, to 20 millimeters, which is what this area right here is. And of course, the rest of it out here was already 20 millimeters. And then I marked on my lathe where that position is right there, so that I wouldn't be cutting into this land any for the bearing. And then machined all this down on my lathe to 3/4 of an inch. So once that was all done, I had what you are looking here minus that keyway. So the next thing I did was I pulled out my tool post grinder, which I've done several videos on. You can go look in my machining playlist for that, and put the right size mill in here to be able to cut a 3/16 inch slot. So that's what the keyway on the sprocket uses. So here is a 219 sprocket, 3/4 inch ID, and so that slides on there nice. It's a good fit on there. And then here is a 3/16 key, which is what that is in there. And of course, now I have a 3/16 inch keyway in here that's also much longer. So this is about 40 millimeters long, whereas before on these shafts, you may or may not remember it, but they had a keyway that was basically about that long, and it took a 3 millimeter key. So I've got a beefier keyway, and I've also got a much longer keyway. So now when this goes on here and you push the key in there, this can be slid back and forth a good bit. This keyway is on purposely a little bit shallow on this side here, so you have to drive the key in to make it go in, so that makes a nice snug fit. And any little bit of play that's between these two parts is now soaked up because the key is taking it all up. But that gives me a lot of slide area here for chain alignment. And I've never needed this much movement, but I've got 40 millimeters worth of it. So that's going to definitely take care of whatever I might possibly need to do. Anyway, all three shafts are pressed in place. All three shafts are machined down to 3/4 of an inch. All three of them now have a 3/16 inch wide keyway in them. So that's completely done. So all three of these armatures are as ready as they can be, and they're done for all intents and purposes. I don't have to do anything else. And now this, oops, that's the wrong cover, want this one. And now this front faceplate is not trapped behind that shoulder that's on there. I can slide this in place, tap it down onto that land. I seriously doubt the armature is going to move around. But if it does, well, I'll deal with it then, and maybe then I might have to put, a shoulder on here or something, but I doubt that's going to be the case, because the bearings were already set up so that the whole motor could shift this way anyway, and I doubt that's going to happen, and it can't go the other direction, because the back end of the shaft here is going to butt up against here, because it still has that shoulder. So it didn't go anywhere before, and Top Power has sold a million of these things. So it's probably not going to be a problem that I don't have a circlip on here to trap the shaft to this bearing. I doubt it's going to be an issue. If it is, I'll deal with it then. But I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. All right, so on this motor right here, I'll add a temp sensor to it, and otherwise it will be completely factory. I won't do anything to it, leave all of the phase wires, everything exactly as they are, just add a temp sensor and close it back up with the covers just like this, with this better shaft in it, with the 3/4 inch OD on it. That's it. All right, this one right here, that's the one that I've already done some moddings on. So I've already added the 8-AUG wires. I've already added a temp sensor to it, bound up the windings a little bit. That one, I'm going to drill some holes in here so that air can exit out of here. And then on the back side, I will drill a single hole, and I've got some server fans that came out of Dell servers, so I'm going to make like a hole like right here. And I'm going to screw down one of those little server fans. They are very small, spin at really high RPMs, have a really high CFM, and they're pretty bloody noisy. So anyway, yeah, they're not exactly ideal, but the idea is forced air cooling and have lots of it. So that little fan is definitely going to do that trick. And with a bunch of holes on this side here, exiting is going to happen basically throughout this entire area, rather than just through that one little hole. But that's going to be all okay, I think. Anyway, we'll be able to do forced air cooling. And then on the third one, I've already figured out how to do this. I just got to make the parts. I will need to make an aluminum ring that fits the diameter of the motor can. And then I'll cut slots in it for these, or I will just simply cut these off so that the ring can slide over it, except for at these spots right here, and then silicone that ring on either end of the stator. The can basically. So I seal up all these ends right here. Then I will take another piece of aluminum and totally cover everything here and silicone it down to these ribs. And that way I will create passageways for fluid flow. And I will then put like a fitting, like a little NPT 1/8 fitting right here that is going to let fluid flow in. And then it's going to flow out the bottom side, come out to this side here, flow back out this way, loop over to this one, do the same thing back and forth until I get to all 6 of those sections. So I will have a complete current loop, or a complete fluid loop on here to liquid cool one of these stators. So factory air cooled, liquid cooled. And also the liquid cooled one will get 8-AUG wires like this one does. So we can see the best case scenario with that one. It may very well be that Top Power has already optimized this motor completely, and air cooling and water cooling are a complete waste of time. I don't know that, and quite frankly, I think there's more out of these motors than you can get just with, passive radiation out of the shell. So we're going to see that air cooled and water cooled, whether we can really push them harder. And we're going to know that we're doing better because we'll have bigger phase wires, and we'll know because we've got active cooling in both of these of 2 different kinds, and we're going to be able to see whether we can push the XXL/TP-128 motors harder than you can with them just in a factory state. I think that's going to work. I think it's going to produce a good bit more phase amps and as a result more torque, but that's all yet to be TBD. So anyway, more to come on these things. When exactly all of that stuff will be coming together and you'll actually be able to see them running, well, that's a little ways out. I have an EV that's pretty close to ready to roll. I need to make a motor bracket so I can mount these to it. I need to get the chain alignment done. But it's an otherwise completely built EV from a while back. I need to make an 82 volt pack for it, so 20S. And I need to make the thing nice and beefy so I can deliver tons of current, because I have far drivers and back 8000s and back 4000s and X9000s and Pro controllers and things like that are all going to get stuck on that thing so that we can do all of that 82 volt testing stuff. And the first thing they will run is these motors first, and then I will later on go over and do the QS165 motors. But anyway, one step at a time. First things first, get that EV back running again, aka put a battery pack in it again, because the old one was just LiPo and it died a long time ago, and I parked it and didn't care. And anyway, yeah, it's going to come back to life again. It's otherwise completely working, lots of upgrades on it, and more to come on that. And the first thing it's going to test is these 3 motors right there. So anyway, yeah, expect more coming soon. And yeah, I don't know exactly when that'll happen, because, well, I've constantly got things going, right? And this is just one more. Anyway, take care, folks. Talk to you later.